My mother asked me your name. She asked it so softly that for a moment I almost believed she already knew the answer. The candles in her chambers trembled with the wind clawing against the castle windows, and her tired eyes lifted from the embroidery resting in her lap to my face. I had returned late from the southern gardens, my boots stained with rainwater, my mind stained with you. Mothers notice these things. Queens notice them even faster. She watched the way I loosened the collar around my throat, as though I could not breathe properly anymore. She watched the distraction in my eyes, the silence stretching too long between her questions. Then finally, with the smallest smile ghosting across her lips, she asked me your name, not who you were, not where I met you, just your name, as if a woman capable of undoing a prince could only be spoken of carefully, delicately, like something sacred. And God help me, I could not answer her immediately, because the moment your name reached the edge of my tongue, it became dangerous. Your name was no longer just a collection of letters. It had become the reason I wandered the palace corridors at night, unable to sleep. The reason I stood through council meetings hearing nothing while old men argued about wars and taxes and alliances. Your name had become the H beneath my ribs, a secret stitched into every breath I took. I remember staring into the fire while my mother waited patiently, and all I could think about was the first time you looked at me without bowing your head like everyone else did. Everyone in this kingdom lowers their gaze before a prince. You never did. You looked directly into me as if crowns meant nothing to you, as if you could see the man buried beneath the gold and silk and expectation. And perhaps that is what frightened me most. When I finally spoke your name aloud, the room changed. My mother became very quiet after that. Queens understand love differently than ordinary people. They know love can become war. They know kingdoms have collapsed because a ruler could not control his heart. She set her embroidery aside and studied me carefully, almost mournfully, before asking, "Does she know?" I should have lied. I should have laughed and dismissed it like some temporary fascination. But princes are trained for politics, not for surviving women like you. So instead, I admitted the truth in the only way I could. I told her that every road in my mind somehow leads back to you, that I hear your voice even inside crowded banquet halls, that sometimes I catch myself searching for you in places you have never even been. My mother sighed then, not angry, not disappointed, only resigned, as though she recognized the expression on my face because she had once worn it herself long before becoming queen. She warned me carefully after that. She reminded me what men like me are born for: duty, bloodlines. Political marriages arranged before we are old enough to understand what loneliness even means. She spoke of neighboring kingdoms and fragile alliances and the burden waiting for my crown. But while she spoke, all I could remember was the warmth of your fingers brushing mine beneath the palace staircase where no one could see us. Such a tiny thing, such a dangerous thing. You touched me like I was human instead of royal, and now nothing inside me obeys properly anymore. Not my thoughts, not my sleep, not my future. I think my mother saw that too, because eventually her voice faded and she simply looked at me with this unbearable sadness. Then she asked the question I had feared most. Would you give up everything for her? I did not answer, because princes are not allowed to want things honestly. We are taught from birth to sacrifice quietly. But the truth sat there between us anyway, alive and breathing in the silence. I would burn every throne in this kingdom to the ground if it meant keeping you beside me. I would let history curse my name forever if it meant hearing you laugh one more time beneath the moonlight gardens. And perhaps that makes me weak. Perhaps it makes me selfish. But every ruler before me is willing to marry for power, while secretly starving for affection. I do not want to become another cold king with empty eyes and a perfect crown. I would rather become a scandal whispered through generations than live an entire lifetime without you. My mother looked away after that, toward the storm beyond the windows. Then heaven protect you, my son, she whispered, because love like that never ends peacefully. And somehow, that terrified me less than the thought of losing you. The words followed me long after I left her chambers. They echoed through the endless marble corridors of the palace, while servants lowered their heads as I passed, while knights struck their fists against their chests in salute, while ministers chased me with scrolls full of matters that suddenly felt meaningless. Your name sat inside my mind heavier than the crown waiting for me upstairs in the throne room. Strange, isn't it? A prince can command armies with a single sentence, yet whispering the name of one woman can still make his chest tighten like a frightened boy's. I hated that weakness once. Kings are not supposed to ache. We are not supposed to lose ourselves in longing. From childhood they taught me discipline before affection, strategy before desire, duty before everything. But none of those lessons prepared me for you. None of them warned me what would happen when someone looked at me without fear, when someone touched my hand without wanting power from me, when someone stood before me and made all this gold, all these banners, all these centuries of royal blood suddenly feel unbearably empty. That night, after leaving my mother, I walked alone through the western wing of the castle where the walls are lined with portraits of dead kings. Men with stern eyes and jeweled crowns stared down at me from their gilded frames as if judging every thought inside my skull. Some conquered nations. Some married women they never loved simply because peace demanded it. History praises men like that. History calls them wise rulers. But standing there beneath their painted shadows, I wondered how many of them secretly suffered in silence, how many of them stood awake beside cold queens while dreaming of another woman entirely, how many buried their hearts alive beneath royal duty until nothing human remained inside them except a pulse. Perhaps that is the true curse of monarchy. Not war, not assassination, not betrayal. The true curse is becoming untouchable, becoming so wrapped in expectation that no one sees the person underneath anymore, no one except you. I remember the first evening you truly ruined me. The kingdom was celebrating the winter solstice, and the palace glittered with enough gold and candlelight to blind the heavens themselves. Noblemen draped themselves over my arm all night, smiling rehearsed smiles while their fathers calculated how close they stood to the throne. Music thundered through the ballroom, silk brushed against marble floors, laughter filled every corner, yet somehow across all that noise,